All right. Yeah, I was at the BHS homecoming game. My wife is a BHS teacher, so she she was assigned to work the homecoming dance. So I went to the homecoming dance Saturday night with my wife, and we were over working the snacks and water table over there, handing out snacks all night. So I don't know if any of y'all went to the game. No one, or anyone went to the dance. No one came over and said hi, but there's about 1,500 kids there, so I'd been easy to miss you if you were there. But it was a good time. I find it very interesting the way that your generation dances. It's this, just jumping up and down, jumping up and down. Even slow dances, slow dances. Normally you got a guy on. No, it's this. Every even slow. It was very funny actually. It'd be like 100 people out there, just all every single. Didn't matter what kind of music it was. It was quite humorous. So, all right, let's see. We're missing two folks here. Maybe they'll wander in. Maybe they won't. I don't know. West, you guys got homecoming coming in just a few weeks. Not this week, not next week, but the week after that is the West homecoming. And you guys are doing it differently than BHS. I actually like the way West is doing it. I like that. It seems right to me. It seems familiar to me. BHS had homecoming Friday night and then did dance Saturday night. So the dance did not feel like it was connected in any way to the homecoming football game. The dance was just prom practice because all the guys and girls, for the most part, all dressed up just like it was prom. There's a few folks in blue jeans and maybe a cowboy hat or two, but for the most part, it was like prom practice. And I'm like, okay, well, that's something. West is doing it differently. They're going to have their football game, and then the dance is right after. You go from the stadium to the dance. It's right. So, I mean, you carries if you have a big win on homecoming, everybody's pumped. You go straight to the dance. It's all party celebrating the big victory because it's just happened, and everybody's pumped. That adrenaline is going. The BHS, it's like everyone comes in and they're just kind of standing there for a while. It takes a while to build up that adrenaline that you're having a good time with all your buddies. And, after a while, it kind of got there, but it's very dead starting out. So that's a very different type of homecoming dance. I don't know if one's right, one's wrong. I prefer the dance right after the game. Just go straight to the dance and just have a great time. Don't have to worry about all the dressing up and stuff. That's for prom. But, to each his own. Do whichever way you like there. All right. What are we doing this week in algebra? Are we having algebra this week? Yes, we're having algebra. Let's see what we got. No, we're not going to be here a very long time because we don't have anything to cover today because it's test week. Test week. We do need to cover one thing today. I need the email as well, just as a reminder. Let's look at our grade screen just to see. Everything's done. Everything's done in Module 2. All we have left, I've already, Mr. Fake Student's already taken the practice test. Practice test and the test. Haven't taken the test yet. So this week, October 8th, due Sunday, the Module 2 practice test and the Module 2 test. Again, use the practice test to your advantage. There's not a part 1, part 2. See, last time we had part 1, part 2. This is just one part. But you have to, so we can go ahead and take a look at it. Not from that screen, we can't. We got to go back to our activity. We'll look at it though. But, make sure you're doing well in the practice test and that you understand the problems before you take the test because they're the same type of problems. If you can't do it here, don't try it here. All right, let's go to the activity screen. And I'll show you there's a treat here for you. I just put this in here like 5 minutes ago. You see down here at the bottom the practice test? And right underneath that, Mr. Brock takes the practice test. So if you click on that, it will have a video there of me taking the practice test. So after you take the practice test, if you don't do well, and there's portions that you missed, I took the same test. And I explained how I got every answer and how to do that. So you don't have to watch the whole video. If you got the first 10 questions correct on the practice test, don't watch me do the first 10 questions. That may be wasting your time because you obviously knew how to do the first 10 questions. You can skip forward in the video and just go to question 11. Maybe you just had a problem with 4 questions on the whole test. Well, just go to those 4 questions and watch a video. You don't have to watch the whole thing. If you need to watch the whole thing, watch the whole thing. That's great, because I explain everything I did on the practice test. And if you need to know how to do all of them because you weren't paying attention up here, then maybe you need that. But then we have the Module 2 test. Let's look at that real quick. I'll show it to you over here. Again, there's only a part 1, part 2. So determine whether this is the graph of a function. And again, your questions may be different because it has a bank of questions it pulls from. Determine the domain. What's the domain of this function? What's the range? Determine the intervals on which the function's increasing, decreasing, and constant. Use this graph to estimate the local maximum, local minimum. And this one looks like it has more than one minimum. Determine algebraically whether this is even, odd, or neither. Neither one. Remember how to do that? Substitute negative x in, and then check to see. And that'll tell you whether it's even or odd. I go into that in my practice video, telling you which one's which. Then we have the f plus g of x, f times g of x, f of g of x. Find the inverse of this function. Find the inverse of this function. Find the inverse of this function. Is this a 1-to-1? Determine if this function is 1-to-1. Again, if you don't remember how to do any of these, I cover all of this in my video. Describe how the graph of y equals x squared can be transformed into y equals x squared plus 3. How's the graph change? Maybe you need to graph that if you don't know. Determine how the graph of y equals x squared can be transformed into this. How about transform into this? Describe how to transform the graph of f into the graph of g. The transformation from f to g represents what kind of stretch? Horizontal, vertical, or diagonal? And here's the 2 questions you have to type in. Find f of x and g of x so that the function can be described as f of g of x. Okay? It just gives you this. And it wants you to break that into 2 functions. One of them is f of x. One of them is g of x. And I do one of these on the practice test. I show you how you can do that on the practice test. I show you 2 ways to do that on the practice test. And then the last one, confirm. Confirm. I mean, you got to show all the work that f and g are inverses by showing f of g of x equals x, g of f of x equals x, which means you've got to take g of x, substitute it in for x in this equation, and then work through all the steps to simplify it. Simplify it. Show the steps. Don't just go from here to the end. Show the steps on how you get from substituting this each step to get to the end. And then the other way around, taking f of x and substituting it in for x in this equation. And you have to simplify that and show the work. And again, I did this on the practice test. So there's an example. If you don't remember how to do this, I've done it on the practice test. So 20 questions. No part 1, part 2. If we did, we just have part 1 goes through number 18, part 2, 19, 20. But we combined them. 1 test. Right there. Yes, I want to leave. I know I'm not taking the test yet. So that's what you have. Now here's the important thing. This is the Module 2 test. So if you are missing anything from Module 1, it's due Sunday. Because after we take the Module 2 test, we're done with Module 1. No more late work accepted. Now, does that mean you can't retake the test? Now, I may allow you to retake the test, but if you haven't turned it in to start with, it'll be too late. So if you are missing something from Module 1, that needs to be turned in. You can retest after Sunday. You can get with me and redo things after Sunday. But if you haven't turned it in to start with, it will be not be an N anymore in the grade book. It will turn into a Z, which means it's late and cannot be submitted any longer. So that's the important thing to remember this week. Yes, you do have the practice test and the test this week, but most importantly, module 1, if you are missing anything, this is a big deadline for you. It's a hard, firm deadline of Sunday night. So you need to get things turned in. And I will send an email reminder of that this week as well, so that you've got that just in case you're asleep right now and not paying attention. So, all right. Any questions? Understand what the week is? Practice test. Got a video of me taking the practice test myself. So if you get stuck anywhere on that, if you watch me do it on the practice test and you still don't know how to do it, email me. Mr. Brock, I know this is due this week. And I've watched your video. I've gone through us. I'm still lost. Okay. Well, we'll get together and talk about that then. By the way, this is a B-Day Friday, so we just have class on Wednesday for anyone below 70%. Hopefully that's not like a lot of you. I'm not even sure if it's many at all. I know my other Algebra 3 class, I had nobody below 70% last week. I didn't have anyone have to come to class, which was kind of weird because there's usually somebody that's not quite there yet. But hopefully get everybody up above 70% and just have a great long weekend for everybody. So, all right, guys, I won't make you stay because there's nothing for me to tell you. You've got your assignment. You know what needs to be done. You've got help right there in Buzz if you need it. So let me know if you need anything, guys, but we'll see you later.